Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to the space where real men rebuild, rise, and reclaim purpose. Let me start by asking you this. What if the moment that broke you was actually the moment that built you? If you are a man going through divorce, if you are silently asking yourself whether you will feel whole again, if you are battling to stay present for your kids while trying to hold on to your job, your sanity, and your soul, this episode is for you. Today, you will meet a man who walked through all that storm and came out stronger, wiser, and more grounded than before. My guest, Ange Mukadi, went through a divorce over 15 years ago. He was a single father to 3 children, and like many men, he faced a crossroad many people never see. But instead of staying stuck in pain, Ange rebuilt his life piece by piece, not just for himself, but for his children, his future, and his purpose. Today, he's not only remarried and thriving, he's also a cloud engineer, a former county level IT administrator, a community leader who once ran for president of the Congolese community in Dallas, Texas, and a man deeply committed to faith, family, and resilience. In this conversation, you will hear how he navigated the emotional wreckage of the divorce, showed up as a father even when it felt like he was falling apart, balanced a demanding tech career with single fatherhood, faced his fear about love, trust, and remarriage, and found a deeper purpose on the other side of his pain. This isn't just about rebuilding after divorce. It's about rediscovering the man within, the man you were always meant to become. So if you ever ask yourself, can I really come back from this? Let Ange's story remind you, not only can you come back, you can also rise. Without further ado, let's get into part one of Rebuilding from the Rubble, a father's journey from divorce to purpose, with the incredible Ange Mukadi. Before going deeper into the subject of our episode, I want to talk to you about my coaching program and why I created it. A few years ago, I found myself in a very dark place. I was working hard, but felt like I was spinning my wheels. I had no control over where my life was going. Everything around me was crumbling, and I was powerless to stop it. It's frustrating and scary when you've lost your sense of direction, especially in your 30s and 40s, when you feel like you should have had things figured out by now. That's why I created Rise. It's a coaching program for professionals who, like I did, feel disconnected from their purpose and passion. Through 4 simple steps, Rise helps you break free from doubts, reconnect with your true self, set clear goals, and take actions that move you forwards. I've been where you are, and I found a way through it. And I know you can too. So if this message resonates with you and you're ready to start your journey of rediscovery and purpose, I would love to help you take that next step. So feel free to connect with me through my website, www.yvestmukanya.com, and it spells YVESTMUKANYA.com, or on LinkedIn, it's just Yves Mukanya. Let's work together to help you create the life you know you deserve. Now, let's get back to our episode. Have you ever felt like you were stuck? Asking yourself, how do I find clarity and purpose when everything around me feels overwhelming and I'm not even sure where I'm going? Well, you're not alone. Whether you're running a business, raising kids, or trying to keep up with the demands of life, we all reach a point where we lose our sense of direction. But here's the thing. If you're ready to rediscover your passion, find your way back again, and reconnect with what truly matters to you, you've come to the right place. I'm your host, Yves Mukanya, and you are listening to the Rising and Thriving podcast. Hi, Ange. Thank you so much for joining me, man. As I said earlier, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And I want to start by saying that, as you know, I've known you for quite a while now, and I said that you were also one of the first person I hang out with when I first arrived in the United States. And the subject of this conversation is to talk about how as a father, how to go from divorce to purpose. And we are going to focus on your experience. My main goal here is to inspire fathers out there, especially those going through divorce or struggling to find themselves after divorce. And I'm really hoping that this conversation will be able to show them that healing is possible. That life after a loss like that can be meaningful, joyful, and full of purpose. So to me, you are one of the people who have been able to accomplish that, and you are divorced for, I believe, more than 20 years right now, right?
No, it's been close to 15 years.
Close to 15 years. Okay. All right. So, as I also said earlier when we talked, is like you are probably the first person close to me to have gotten a divorce. And because divorce was always something, outside of my inner circle. It was something that I heard happening to other people, and you were the first person that made it real for me. So take us back to that first year after the divorce. What was going on inside of you emotionally, mentally, spiritually? What was that season like for you?
First of all, thank you, Eve, for having me and for thinking that we may be able to contribute to this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I recall, well, even though it's been that long, it's been a very long time, obviously, 15 years is not yesterday. But I do remember that, obviously it was an emotional moment. It was a difficult time, clearly. One of my main thoughts at the moment, or at that particular moment, was to really withdraw within myself and try to seek, try to understand who I was. Because at that moment, I was realizing that I wasn't myself anymore, that I had lost myself, so to speak, actually. I remember, after getting my own apartment, in downtown, in uptown Dallas at the time, I found myself thinking how I wanted to decorate my place. And there we go, I'm there trying to think of what I'm going to put here, what color curtain I'm going to, buy and decorate the house with. And then I realized while I was doing all of that I did have a favorite color that I haven't actually thought of in a very long time, because I was married for about 10 years and we had 3 children. So just rediscovering myself was really one of the main things that I really recall after the divorce, since we're talking about that first year after the divorce. Of course, the first few weeks were extremely hard, obviously, very emotional time. And I remember having to rely on, some close friends and my dad particularly. So I had all that support around me, but hey, it doesn't mean that they're going to be there with you 24/7, right? Sometimes you have to find yourself at home and alone for the first time. No children, no wife, and looking at your wall, or maybe watching the TV, staring at everything, and just thinking. But yeah, in those moments, my main thought was really to try to find out who I was. It's clear to me today, obviously, I did not know. I was just trying to find out who I was again, because as I was discovering, for example, that I did have a favorite color that I have not thought about in a long time, or, favorite things, favorite TV show and things like that, really made me realize today that I was just finding out, or just discovering myself again at that moment. And that's one of my strongest memory of that first year, just finding myself again.
Finding yourself again. Wow. Okay. So if you had to name one belief or one mindset you had to let go of just to make it through that time, what was it?
I don't know if I was thinking in those terms particularly. If I did have a thought that really stayed with me during that time, was really to realize that, and this was also with the help of my dad and my friends around me, that I've always been a happy person. I always say I was a happy person before my marriage. I was happy during my marriage. Never really realized that anybody else was unhappy, but I was very happy. I had to be happy, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to find myself again. I wanted to be happy. That was who I was, and not being married anymore at that particular moment, shouldn't stop me from being happy. That's one of the things, one of the thoughts that I really worked on, realizing that I was a happy person and I needed to be happy again. So yeah, I would say this was this. It's not something that I would let go, but if I did let go of anything, I had forgotten that I was a happy person during that particular moment. I mean, I
Okay.
guess it's a part of the process. You need to feel the pain. You need to accept that pain in order to process it. But yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay. So
yeah.
you basically what you said, if I'm understanding correctly, what you said was you were a happy person from the get go.
Yeah, I
And
think it's important in any kind of commitment or relationship. You can never forget who you are. And honestly, what I'm also saying is that you will not be happier after the marriage if you were not. Well, I mean, you can be happy, obviously, but our happiness shouldn't be conditioned by our state of being married, if you know what I mean.
okay.
I mean, it is something that we are. We always say that, when you get married, you are not looking, you're not going in to find happiness. You are going in to share happiness in that sense.
So you're not
You
going
know,
in to find happiness, you're going in
no,
to share happiness.
absolutely. So if you bring in happiness, you will be happy and you will
Mm-hmm.
be able to share that with the other person. And sometimes other people do not bring happiness because they didn't have it from the get go,
Gotcha.
right?
Got
So
it. Okay.
in that sense.
All right. So, I mean, the reason why I touch upon this is because when I was doing research for this episode, I came across a research by the American Psychological Association, and they say that many men suppress their emotions after divorce, and it causes them to experience depression and a loss of identity, especially when they don't have a support system. So you mentioned earlier, you talked about your dad, you talked about your siblings, and you talked also you just briefly mentioned your family. So in a broad sense, like how would you describe your support system at that time?
I would say it was very strong. Obviously, I did have friends that we related
Mm-hmm.
to in terms of going through difficult times in our marriages. I mean, I ended up being divorced. He didn't, and I remember we spent a lot of time discussing that actually. So I would say that my support system was very strong. So having my father
Mm-hmm.
who was present because I believe he understood that I needed to be with someone most of the time. I remember being with a few friends, two or three of them that I regularly saw. I was almost never alone for at least the first couple of months, maybe more. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really what helped me cope with the pain because I wouldn't pretend that it wasn't painful. I mean, you try to you try to rationalize things.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, trying to comfort yourself by saying, "Hey, things happen," or it's nobody's fault, all of that. But yeah, there's still the feeling of betrayal. There's still the feeling of disappointment. There's still the feeling of a failure, obviously, because I mean, ultimately, it is your fault, whether you like it or not, right?
Mm.
You can't stop thinking, what have I done wrong, or what have I not done right, or what could I have done better? You question yourself. You question your intelligence. You question your integrity. Yeah, it's a difficult time. I don't think it makes you any less of a person in terms of any less of a man. As far as us men, we have that macho sense where we believe that we are so strong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ultimately, every human being is emotional. It's a part of us.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to go through with it and then deal with it. And personally, I've always been an emotional person, and I embrace it.
You
Like I said,
embrace
I've
your
always known
emotion, you
that. Yes,
embrace your emotional
absolutely.
side.
I
Okay.
absolutely embrace that part of myself. If I need to cry, I'll be the first to cry. If I'm happy, I'm happy. If I'm disappointed, that I am disappointed, and I tend to express that and say it when it has to be said.
So how did I help
That's
you? How did I help you to embrace your emotional side? Because a lot of men, that for a lot of men, this is uncharted territory. They don't
right,
want to
right.
touch the emotional side. So how did I help you? How did it help you to get in touch with your emotional side?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying. I didn't try to get in touch with it. I was always in touch with my emotion. I guess that's that's my personality in the sense that never avoided emotion. I never shied away, from who I was. My emotions are part of me. And I think it has a lot to do with culture, right? Generally speaking, especially for us African. I mean, a man in Baluba's culture, for example, they do recognize that men can cry, but when it happened, a man is supposed to go hide in the bathroom and cry, right? So you don't express it. I think, yeah. I mean, it is still recognizing that you have emotion and you can cry. You just don't display it. I think that's what the difference is. I mean, the takeaway here is that we are emotional beings, whether you're men or not. So holding it does not help.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay.
So we just need to be ourselves and let this emotion out. It's fine.
Okay.
And that's really my perspective. Or this is really what helped me a lot. I believe it helped me a lot in my healing process because it helped me accelerate that process, right? Because
Gotcha.
I obviously use rationalization, but I was also true to myself and I embraced my emotions. I mean, if I needed to cry, I cried. If I needed to complain, I complained. It's something that I accepted very easily and very quickly, though.
Okay. All right. So I think you were talking about culture. You also mentioned the Baluba culture. But I think for a lot of people, if they don't know, you and I are from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Our culture has its own views on divorce and also how to support men going through it. And
Right.
I also do believe that the way we handle or do not handle divorce is mainly due to our cultural background. And I think you mentioned that you mentioned that by talking about our Baluba culture, like when somebody is hurt or a man is hurt, they want you to go back somewhere and hide and cry, not show emotion, not always have that stoic face. But
Absolutely.
your approach in that time, in that difficult time, was totally different. You embrace that emotional side. You embrace it, and that help you towards healing. If that's what I'm understanding correctly. If I'm not
Absolutely, yeah.
understanding correctly.
It definitely helped the process go a little faster,
Okay.
much quicker. Because I know a lot of men, like you mentioned, it's not that they don't go through the healing process. It's just very, very slow for them. And you see them, lingering with the pain and just moping around and basically losing, perspective, right? And a part of it is probably because they don't process that pain fast enough. They don't embrace the emotions. They don't accept, their vulnerability as men, as a person, as a human being. They struggle with that part, and that just makes your pain last longer.
Okay.
That's really the perspective that I have about that.
Okay. Yeah, for me, going back to like talking about support system, when I personally went through my divorce myself, my support system was there when I needed it. Like my entire family was around me. My siblings came, they really came through for me. And I had about two close friends that I think started to get in touch and some cousins, but everybody came around me to support me at that time. And to be honest, it felt really good, because as you know, culturally, the family is pretty big. All right. So you get in touch with different people. As soon as somebody hear that you are in pain, the people in your family always come through for you, whether they like you or not, but they show up. And for me, everybody show up. And I was even happy because my grandmother, who lived in Sweden, in Sweden, was also here when I was going through it, especially in the beginning, right? And that was another layer of support that I got from that situation. But as you said earlier, you also mentioned that there's a lot of things that you have to do by yourself. You find yourself alone in your room, you find yourself by yourself, right? So I still had a situation to face on my own. And I do remember how heavy things felt at that time. And for me, the heaviness became even worse when I had to step into the family court system. So let's talk about your experience with the family court. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because The few time we talked, you said something that caught my attention. You know, you say that every time that you step into family court or you went to court, you were telling yourself that I am going to lose, which is very different than what many men tells themselves when going to court. Myself included, you know, nobody wants to lose. I did not want to go into court to lose. So can you tell us emotionally how your experience in family court was and how did that mindset help you navigate it?
Well, this is really not news as far as the court system in America is concerned. Most men, and rightfully so, do feel that anytime that the government intervene in marriage, um, the they seem to lean favorably toward the woman rather than the man, and rightfully so. I mean, this is based on history and based on statistics. I mean, most of the women in marriage tend to be victimized, and that basically makes society want to protect them more. And you know, it's understandable. I'm not saying it's always acceptable, like excusable. I think the court system still has to try to process these things in a fair manner. Obviously, not everybody, not every man is a brute, right? So every case is also different. So they definitely have to put things into considerations when it comes to family courts. And when I went into the system in that sense, I was prepared. I mean, that's why I said I really had no expectation, right? I lowered the expectation to the maximum. I wasn't expecting to win anything. And for me, it was also a matter of perspective because from, the stories that I heard, from the research that I did, from people that I spoke with, from the experiences that I heard, it made me realize that there wasn't really nobody is a winner in a marriage. So I'm already losing as I'm entering a divorce, right? It's a
Okay. So hold
lose-lose
on, hold on.
situation.
I heard you say nobody's a winner in a marriage. Is that what you said, or
Well, that was a no.
okay?
What I meant to say is no one is a winner in a divorce.
Okay, got it, got
Right.
it, got it.
Right. So yeah, the court is just there to formalize things and to arbitrate, obviously, and make sure everybody, is treated fairly in the way things are getting divided or split, or the children, wealth or whatever it is that you have to go through uh, to complete the formal separation. Um, what I was saying is that no one really is a winner in a divorce process, except maybe the lawyers, but so
Yeah.
except maybe the lawyers, because for me, as far as what the demands were for my ex-wife, obviously, I mean, it made sense. As a matter of fact, I tried my best not to even say anything about it because I'm not. I'm thinking really, if this is what losing is, then I want to lose every time one does a divorce. Because what they were asking for was fair in terms of okay, the children having spent time, being her having physical custody of the children. I mean, I was still young. I was in my 30s. I was like 30, well, very young, 32,
Okay.
33 maybe. So if my ex-wife could have full custody of the children and all I had to do is give a third maybe of my revenue, to me it was a fair deal. And I could still see my children pretty much whenever, well, not whenever I wanted to, but whenever it was possible. And as far as I know, after having such rich experience and discussions with many people, including my family, my parents particularly, I realized that my children will always be mine, and no one will love them more than I do, or more than I did. And that proved to be true. So for me, there was no losing situation, even though I accepted that. I lowered that expectation in terms of fighting anybody in court. I wasn't fighting. I didn't go there to fight and win. I expected to lose, or to let her win what she thought she was winning. Part of it's because I probably knew that there's no winning in a divorce, right? Whether it's for her or for myself. I mean, especially not for the children. ultimately, I expected that, and for me, it was fair. And even though she was angry and emotional, it was expected, and I just basically said what I had to say. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I just, for me, if it was possible for me to not even show up, I wouldn't have shown up. I mean, just by respect for the court and by respect for everyone else, I just wanted to show that I did my part. I did what I was expected to do, and I've always, I'm the kind of person that always go above and beyond when it comes to responsibility. So I was responsible in that sense, and took care of business. For me, there's no so losing. It's a perspective kind of thing, right?
Okay.
In their perspective, yes, I was losing, but for me, we all lost. That's really how I looked at it.
So you did not look at it as a win personally,
No,
but
I did not expect any kind of, victory. Yeah, I've shown them, right. They know what I'm capable of. They got what they deserve. No, it wasn't like that for me. I wasn't expecting to go there and feel like I won anything. It was really, yeah. It's in that sense, honestly, though. I don't think divorce is something that we should be considering as going to court and winning and getting the best lawyer you possibly can get. Those are, in a financial sense, yes. But even in that case, honestly speaking, what people try to do is, limit the damages, right? Sort of like,
okay. Yeah. All right. So, out of curiosity, did you feel heard and understood during the process in court?
Not always. And again, like I said, I mean, this was expected. She had more opportunity to speak her mind. She had more opportunity to say what she wanted to lie if she wanted to. I felt like really, I was given an opportunity to say something, but what I could say was also very limited. It's almost like, yeah, you just need to walk that line, and you need to behave. They already tell you ahead of time, or they already have that set expectation of how you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to say. But on the other hand, she was free to say whatever she wants, and they'll give her all the time. And yeah, everyone was sympathetic to her cause. But that's how society is.
Okay.
For me, I didn't take, I wasn't hurt by that, honestly.
You weren't hurt by that?
No, I wasn't hurt by that.
Okay.
It was more, it's like a friend of mine like to say, is that mise en scène? Really, the court system is almost a show. I mean,
Okay. Okay.
So as long as you act correctly, like I say, acting correctly is what matters. It's really not the truth about any of really what went on, what the truth is, what justice is. I mean, yeah, you may find maybe 25% of that, but if you have expectation on finding, gain or, at a court system for divorce, I mean, especially for men, you're in for, for disappointment. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. This is that was my truth. I mean, I don't know how many men have good experience by going to court for divorce, but
also the reason why I asked that, because you even asked about many men, because a lot of men, and that's also supported by research, a lot of fathers feel like emotionally sidelined and powerless in family court. And on top of that, the fear of losing their daily connectivity, that daily connection with their children, is pretty big. And when they lose that, a lot of men go through, as I said earlier, stress, anxiety, and depression. It's pretty scary to see that. Because, dude, this experience alone leave deep scars. And for myself, I can talk for myself, I never went to court for anything. That was my first time going to court. All right, being in front of a judge with a lawyer and everything. When I say men feel emotionally sidelined, it's because I walked to court, right? The judge had our packet in his hand, and the first thing that she asked was, "Is he paying child support?" Not even my name, not even asking what. No, the first thing was, "Is he paying child support?" And lucky I made arrangements even before, because during separation I made arrangements. However, there was no child support. There was no order for child support, so the judge was not happy with that. It's like, okay, he has to go on child support. Bam, next case. Right. So I was like, you're not even hearing what we're supposed to say. No, it's about. It felt like it was just a transaction. Like, okay, it's just about child support and that's it. If I'm not on child support, it doesn't matter. Right? And that's why I say a lot of men don't feel heard because of stuff like that.
I certainly hear you. I think every man will have a different experience when it comes to divorce.
Mm-hmm.
My divorce, I really, I sort of like, just like you said, I mean, it was transactional, but I expected it to be transactional. It's the nature of a marriage. Marriage is transactional, not in a bad way. Let's put the perspective into that. A marriage is a contract in essence, right? That's the reason why the law has to intervene. Sometimes we really don't understand what being married. Well, it's the perception of what we believe being married is about and what marriage is really about. That's my sense to that. When we think of marriage, we think love first. We think, commitment in terms of, being honest with one another, not having secret, really loving each other to, till death do us part. We look at the romantic side. We romanticize, the marriage itself. But marriage, the bottom line of marriage is that it's just a contract. So we have all that, process of getting a license and then going to a priest or, a pastor or whoever, to get that officialized and signed and all that ceremony. The ceremony and the party is all nice, but the bottom line is that there's still that piece of paper that we sign, which is a contract between two people, two parties. And I believe that's all it is. At that particular moment, that aspect of the marriage is just a transaction. And when you go to divorce court, I personally did not have the expectation that I'm going there to be provided some type of a feeling of justice, like by them listening to me. For me, it was just an end to a contract. It's the same way a signature was put on marriage license. The same way a signature will be put on the divorce certificate, right? And I always say people don't always really understand marriage. I'll give this example of when people, have to get a driver's license. They go through all types of preparation. I mean, you need, to study, and then you have a written test, and then you have a driving test. All that just so that you can get your driver's license. I heard in Europe you have to spend at least 6 months to a year of preparation just to get a driver's license. So that's how serious driving is, right? However, when it comes to marriage, I mean, anyone can just show up and ask for a marriage certificate, a marriage license, and you'll be given on the spot. No test, no preparation, no sense of, okay, do you really know what you're getting into? Do you understand what it means? No. They just give it to you, and then you go and get married. That's usually what it is. No wonder why more than 50% of marriage ends in divorce. It's just, honestly, most people just don't understand what they get.
Yeah.
So, love is one thing, and being betrayed in love is another thing than what marriage is. That's my sense. That's just my way of breaking it down, and it's just my way of putting that spin on the marriage. It's the perspective that I choose to have on marriage. Yeah, I'm not saying that I respect that. I don't respect that. It's one of the things I respect more than anything else. I mean, I personally love marriage, right? I mean,
Okay.
it's a safety for everyone. It's especially when you understand what it is. I mean,
Okay.
it protects your love, right? It protects your children. It protects your assets. It's unfortunate that it ends at times, and also sometimes when it ends, it may actually just be the best thing, especially for the children, right? If two people in this agreement can no longer stand each other, this becomes a difficult thing for other people, particularly
Yeah.
the children. Your
Yeah.
relative as well suffer from that. Your friends suffer from that. Unfortunately. So that's why personally, when I went to court, I really accepted it. It was difficult because all of these emotions from the actual love that you had, for the other person, the separation from your children, because everything wasn't going to be the same anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part hurts, and that's usually the part that you have to take time to process and accept and then move on from.
Okay.
But the marriage itself, in terms of that certificate, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
or the judge, I really didn't have an expectation for them.
Okay.
Uh,
All right. So the thing is, I think what I heard you said is, first of all, there has to be a distinction between the marriage itself, between the love, the emotional side, and the idea of marriage, like that Disney, like live
oh,
happily ever
absolutely,
after, or something
yes,
like that. So there have
absolutely.
to be a distinction between that. And also, what I heard you say was there's not enough preparation on what it is to be married, what marriage really entails. Like the young men walk into marriage not even knowing what that entails or what the consequences are,
Right,
and you
right.
just go and sign paper. The young couple just sign papers, but they don't know the type of responsibilities that contract, require.
So
And that's
what?
some. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I mean, just to clarify that again, people do have certain type of preparation. Yeah, some, especially Christian, they will go to church and see the pastor, and the pastor will break down the spiritual side of marriage. Yeah, they do give them, some type of preparation in terms of, how to take care of your family, the love side, how to forgive. Yeah, all this is good and it's absolutely important. You will do that for a week, 2 weeks. Maybe you will retain 30% of it, and those 30% is absolutely important to your marriage, right? Now, the side that we tend to neglect is the transactional side of marriage. So when you are entering a contract, you have to think of the worst and the best. That's why, people generally nowadays, especially the ones that have a lot of assets, when they are entering a marriage, they may even consider signing prenups because they know that when it comes to transaction, things may not always go the way you want. So you plan all of that. I'm not saying that people should get into marriage so that they can plan a divorce. No, but I'm saying people have to be pragmatic when it comes to marriage.
The
You
marriage.
need
Okay.
to understand that in marriage, there are in anything, as a matter of fact, where you find benefit, because marriage offers a lot of benefit in terms of the love side, right? Because two people are basically coming together, making sharing the emotion, accepting their love, and giving the love to one another. That's the first thing, and marriage is going to protect that. And the second thing, marriage is going to benefit you with is probably the finances. Obviously, you now in a modern life today, we have two incomes. Stop in one income, for example, and then you have all the tax benefit that come with it. I mean, all of these are transactional benefit. That has nothing to do with love. So we need to consider that as well, separately from the spiritual and emotional side of the marriage itself. The part, but we don't do enough. We focus on the emotion, on the wedding, on the ceremony, on the children, but we don't consider the transactional side of it, the legal side of things, because these legal part of things. Sometimes when you understand them, you protect your marriage better. You may even treat your wife better because you don't want to go through the pain of having to go through a divorce.
Gotcha. And did you feel like, personally, did you feel like you were prepared for it?
I think I was really.
Mm.
And that normally, it didn't come from the fact that I was preparing for it, because it came from the fact that I'm a pragmatic person. I am curious about things, and I don't spare myself the pain of understanding. You know, yeah, I understand what divorce is. Obviously, I never wanted divorce. If it was up to me, I would never be divorced. But obviously, I cannot control everything. You know, regardless of the situation, a little bit like Jesus, you know, is there a reason why marriage is acceptable to Jesus? No. Not even cheating is good reason enough to be divorced, according to God. That's what the Bible tells us, right? The only reason why it was permitted is because of our stubbornness, according to the Bible. That's the only reason why it was specially permitted, just because we cannot really handle it as men. But in reality, if it's up to God, no, there's no such thing as divorce.
Okay.
You see? So, yeah, divorce is, it's almost like losing your benefits on purpose. I mean, it's nothing more stupid than being divorced, but it is very good.
Okay.
See?
All right. So, through all that, right? Like, you went through divorce, you were going through, I mean, it's a very, very difficult time. And for myself, it was one of the most challenging time that I had to go through. But despite of that, you always have to show up for your kid. No matter how bad you feel, no matter how, sad you are, you have to show up for your kid. You have to keep showing up every single day. So I think you mentioned something about kids a little earlier when you were talking about marriage. So I want to talk about that, because I found a quote by Frederick Douglass, and he said that it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. So for you though, what helped you stay close to your kids during that time?
I wonder in what context Frederick Douglass said what he said, but as far as I'm concerned, as far as my children are concerned, I mean, my children weren't born because of the marriage per se. They were born because of our love, for one another. So, and my relationship with them had nothing to do with the love I had for my wife. It did, but in a way, when I was taking care of them and loving them, that was first of all my responsibility. Then as I loved them, I developed that attachment to them, obviously. And yeah, in this situation, in a case of a divorce, it's a difficult thing, not just for the men, not just for the woman. It is particularly a difficult time for the children. And I believe the not so much of the right thing to do, but the logical thing to do in my case would be to continue that relationship you had with your children. Unfortunately, what I see often and not, it's that those same parents that supposed to love their children use the separation from their wives, use that feeling of failure and that feeling of being betrayed in a way against the children. They don't do it on purpose, but they use the kids against each other. Okay. And at the end of the day, I mean, children are human beings, and they do have emotions and feeling, and they do, even though they don't understand it in an intellectual level, they do suffer from the consequences of being treated like that. That's basically being treated as objects, as weapon. Okay. And if you grow up in that, relationship after the divorce, obviously you're raising broken men, as you mentioned. Okay. And yeah, it will be extremely hard to fix. Like they say, it's always easier to destroy than it is to actually build, right?
Yeah. So what was your approach then? What did you do that was different? Since you did not want to raise broken men, what did you do?
I've always been very honest with my children. But that's one thing I did, even when they were very, very young. I I always give them the perspective of, tell them as if they should understand what's going on. And I explain to them that, yeah, they may not always see me the way they used to, and we're not always going to be together. But I spoke to them all the time. Whenever it was possible, I was on the phone. I mean, I was a phone call away. I was my work, travel, because I lived at the time, I was living in Dallas already, and they lived in Boston with their mom. And I was ready to stop and drop everything I work and fly to my children if I needed to, or go to them whenever it was possible. I didn't hesitate when it came to that, and I didn't consider it had nothing to do with my, now relationship with my ex-wife, right? The broken relationship. It had more to do with my relationship with them, and I didn't worry about her so much about when it came to my kids. So it wasn't. My feeling had nothing to do with them. So I knew she would do what she needs to take care of her children. They are her kids afterward. You can't expect to love them and take care of them any less as being out there anymore.
Yeah.
And the same way, I did exactly that. I would do everything I can to be there for them when they need me. Even though it wasn't as much as I wanted to, whenever I wanted to, it wasn't always to their satisfaction, but they did understand. And well, I mean, in my case, I believe I did well because I still hold a very, very good relationship with my children today, and they are grown. You know, so it's really something that every parent, especially men, have to work on. We sometimes have to stop with the finger pointing. Like it almost feels like a blame game.
A blame game.
Like a blame game, yeah. Because a lot of the time in a divorce, the two party want to show that I'm better for the kids than the other party. Like I would take care of my children better than he would have. That I am best for you, my kids, than he would have been for you or she would have been for you. So we tend to play that game to the point where even children, notice that and start playing you against each other sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's really the beginning of destroying children's life.
Yeah.
It's not easy though.
I've seen a few cases like that when now the children understand that because mom and dad are not getting along, so I'm gonna play dad on this side, I'm gonna play mom on this side because there's no communication between them because they always argue between this. They don't see things on the same
Kids
way.
Pick up on that. They're very smart, even when they're young.
So they pick up on that very quickly, and they understand how to play the game or how to play the parents against each other. It's not a good place to be, but a lot of time those are the cases that we've seen,
Yeah.
So, but for you though, like, just out of curiosity, were you ever afraid of losing your place in their lives?
No, I never really considered that. I never really considered losing them. For me, it wasn't just possible. I mean, they would have to be taken out of this planet for me to feel like I'm losing them. No, I was never worried about that. And in a way, it was also reinforced by my ex-wife in a sense where she has always admitted and recognized that, I was really good for my kids. To the point where she would say things like, she wished that, her dad was just like me because, she had her own history, obviously. She wished that, I could be her father growing up because she didn't have that, according to her. But my kids had that. So I don't think in both our perspectives, the marriage wasn't going to change that. Right. So I guess I was lucky in that sense.
Okay. So was there a moment, maybe just a little one, when your children reminded you that, hey, Dad, we still need you, What was it? What was that like if it happened?
Well, not so much that they still need me. In their own way of looking at things, because we're young. I mean, when we divorced, they refused to accept it.
They refused to accept the divorce.
To accept it. That's the first thing that I remember.
Okay.
They still expected me to be there every day. They still expected me, to show up. They were still waiting for me to come in, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, everything will go back to normal. When I spoke to them, that's the feeling that I had.
Mm.
They'll remind me, my birthday's coming, so obviously you have to be there. Obviously, things are gonna be
Mm.
great, just like the last time. So that was, a way for them to say, hey, we don't buy that divorce thing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's very difficult for them to, especially if they've seen you together for such a long time. Like they
exactly,
used to see you
exactly.
waking up in the morning. They used to see you taking them to school, right? And they used to see like the outings always together. Now dad lives over here, we lives with mom over here. We go to dad sometimes, and it can be quite confusing for
Yeah.
them, right? And from even what I said, like even from my own experience, I know my kids went through a period of adjustment. And I believe that one of my first kid, one day when I was dropping him off over to his mom, then after spending the day with them, uh, he caught me off guard, right? Like he asked me, I think we got into a conversation, and I think it was still 7 years old at the time. He asked me when I was coming home. So I had to be very clear with him. I didn't want to lie to him, but I also did not want to put false hope into his mind. All right. Like, it's like, I had to be very clear. Like, you know what? There's no going back.
Right,
All
right.
right. Like, I was driving. When he asked me that question, I was so taken aback because I wasn't expecting that question. He was 7 years old. Right? I was taken aback, so I had to get out of the highway, find a little plaza, and then talk to him. His brother was on the other side listening, but he was the one leading the conversation.
All
And I
right.
told him, like, you know what? It's there's no coming back, right? And it's like, yeah, two people can be together, but at some point, it's also okay if things are not working out. It's okay for people to go their separate ways.
Absolutely.
However, it doesn't mean that it's your fault, right? It has nothing to do with both of you guys. We're still going to love you. We're still going to be there for you. I know that your mom's going to step up, do an incredible job being your mom, right? And I'm also trying to, as best as I can, give you what I can as a father, right? I'll work with you. I'll be there for you as best as I can, But going back to what used to be is probably not an option.
Right.
And his retort, like his second question or his response to that was, well, when two people are mad at each other, they forgive each other. I'm like, yes, they do forgive each other. There's forgiveness into things. Like you forgive everybody, you have to forgive, and that's understandable. I forgive, but still, there are situations that you cannot reverse.
Right.
And the situation with your mom is something that cannot be reversed. But I'm just going to reiterate that you are our priority. Both of you guys are our priorities. So we're always going to put you first. We're going to always going to love you as much as like love you as your parents,
Mhm.
and we always going to be there for you. But it's just that it's going to be done differently. I think he was satisfied with that answer, and I never heard it from him anymore. So he never brought it. But I'm sure that as he's growing up, it's gonna come out again.
Oh yeah,
You
absolutely.
know.
Yeah, I can
So
guarantee you that. I
yeah.
can absolutely guarantee you that.
So I'm waiting for it. I think I'm in a better position than I used to be back then. So I'm saying when I say better position, I mean mentally, emotionally,
Mhm.
and in even the way I feel about myself. I'm in a much better position than I was when he asked me that question. And as you also say yourself, like I've always been very transparent. No,
Mhm.
I show by example. Like I don't need to hide anything. You see exactly what I do, right?
Absolutely.
I have a project and things, I tell them, like I talk to them, I have a conversation with them. So the more I do it, I think the better things are gonna be move forward. So that at least on my part, that's the way I approached it.
Well,
You know,
expect them to ask you the same question when they're 40 years old. It's not going to change. They will still think that there's a chance you can come back. They
you
will
got
find a way to say one way or another. Believe me, I still see that with my kids sometimes. They're
right.
very creative in the way they approach things, you know.
Yeah.
They'll tell you things like, "Oh my goodness, man, you and mom always like to sing when it comes to this." This is a way for them to tell you that you know what you still have a home here. They will find a way. They don't care, kids. I mean, that's just the way they have hopes. They have
Mm,
some kind of a faith that they don't give up easily.
yeah.
So I respect that.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I mean, we laugh about things. We just move on.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's just
Hey,
about, I think to me, it's about being transparent. It's about being
absolutely.
open and don't lie. Don't put false hope into your children,
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
because I also know that, like, there's a lot of things, a lot of research that have proved that, kids do better emotionally when dads stay present. So the more time you spend with them, it doesn't really matter if it's those two, like every other 2 weeks, and you have a couple hours here and stuff. They're not gonna remember the gift. And as you talked about earlier, like about being weaponizing the kids, trying to show like you're the best parent. Kids don't remember that. Kids remember the time that you spend with them, not all the time. So, but what I've also noticed is a lot of fathers struggle just with that. You know, the feeling of being pushed out or of feeling disconnected. And one thing I also remember you saying, right, and from our old talks and stuff, you said, "I'm not going to be bullied out of my children's lives." All right, so tell to me a little bit about that. How did you come up with that?
I mean, well, one thing I did mention that throughout this conversation, even right now, even today a little earlier, that for me, my relationship with my children have nothing to do with my marriage per se.
Mm,
Because I mean, I respect them as human beings. First of all, I'm not going to objectify them or reuse them, to get to somebody else. That's not something that I do. I mean, somebody else may do that. I've seen
mm-hmm,
that be done, but I've always understood that part. And another thing that you mentioned was the time you spend with your children. For me, it's not so much about how much time you spend with them. It's the quality of
the,
the time they spend with them, because I mean I can be there with my children every day or half the time of their lives, but I'm not paying attention to any of those things.
mm,
I'm not listening to them, or I'm not understanding what they are asking or what they want are, right.
mm,
I'm focusing on me, my job, my business, my future. I mean, kids will know that and they will sense that, even though you spend so much time with them. So
mm,
what to remember? Okay, the quality of the time that they had with you, the fact that you did the homework with them, or you resolved a particular problem for them,
mm-hmm,
or you advised them on something that really bothered them. Even arguments are
mm,
better than time spent with children. While focusing on other things than the kids themselves. See what I
okay,
mean? So
yeah,
it's really important. That's why I say your relationship with them is what matters. That's why I will never be bullied away from my relationship with my kids.
mm,
It's sacred. I respect them too much to let that happen. And
okay,
honestly, the way that relationship is built, or if you allow that to be built in that way,
mm-hmm,
even if someone else tries to bully you away from your children's life, they're gonna come back. They're not going to
mm,
let that happen.
mm,
They will
mm,
fight as much as you do. And for me, I was ready to get off work and jump on a plane and go to court if I had to, because I will fight for that moment that we have together. No one will take me away from that.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna happen. And yeah, God my witness. I went through some of those moments, where I had to be present.
Gotcha.
And it's not just the physical presence. It's really a spiritual bond and spiritual presence. Them always knowing that you will always catch them or have the back, right? You will always
Yes.
be there. In the hardest possible time when everybody else is away or not paying attention. You will always be there. So
Gotcha.
that's really the type of bond that I am talking about.
Got
It's
it.
not so much about spending 24/7 every day together, which is fine. We're creating opportunity, but if you don't see these opportunities, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really insignificant. It's like playing a soccer game for 90 minutes and not even being able to score a goal. So
Yeah. I totally get it.
tough
I
game,
totally
but
understand. I totally understand because me, when it came time to get for time for me to spend time to be with them, I I don't pick up my phone. Right? I don't pick up the phone. I don't text or anybody. It's very focused on them.
absolutely, yeah,
I'm 100% present. I follow them. Like, so, hey, there's gonna be time when you're gonna be happy. There's gonna be time when they are going to frustrate you.
absolutely.
There's gonna be time when you're just gonna be quiet. They had nothing to do, but just the fact that you are there, present 100%, you pay attention to what they do, what they say, and how they say it, and you start having conversation. And I think that impacted my kids a lot more than just having a whole like tons of hours and just being the gift dad. Like, okay, I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you that, and that's about it. I think that's not meaningful. What meaningful is your children want to see you, want to have you, and that's how I spend my time with them.
Not just them wanting you, or if I may add, it's
Mm-hmm.
also you wanting them. It's really, it has to be a two-way street,
Mm.
especially when you have respect in that relationship, right? I
Gotcha.
mean, this is a two-way street. They are children, they are your children, but they're human beings. They don't belong to you in a sense. In a sense, they don't belong to you. You are building that rapport with them, right? So it's a give and take. They're giving you something which you're benefiting from, and you are giving them something which they're benefiting from. It's not just that they need you; you need them just as much as they need you.
Mm-hmm.
You're just giving each other different ways, different manners. But that relationship is precious and very, very important.
Gotcha.
A lot of fathers don't get it, unfortunately. They would accuse their wives or their ex-wives of doing that, but themselves they do it in the most subtle way. They don't even think about it. I think that's even more dangerous.
Okay. All right.